So is there any chance we get a bill that only does what it's supposed to, and that is help us get out of this pandemic hell? Here with me to discuss, Fox News contributor and professor of business and economics at King's College here in Manhattan, Brian Brenberg is back. It's time for Brianomics. So, Brian, too much money going up, too much money. And my question is, I know there are some big differences, some subtle differences between what these Republican moderate senators want and what President Biden and the Democrats are proposing. But isn't there still money left over from previous stimuli?
Yeah, there are billions of dollars left over from all these other stimulus packages that the senator was just referring to a second ago. And you would think, well, maybe we ought to spend that money first before we go ahead and throw another $2 trillion out the window. But, you know, Kennedy, to me, it's not just the amount of money we're talking about here. And that's a big problem. $2 trillion that we don't have is a big problem. But the bigger problem is what's in the bill, actually, the substance of what would get passed here. And it's not just gobs of money going out the door. It's new mandates, like a higher national minimum wage at $15, which would completely crush small businesses in the heartland of this country. It's the extension of unemployment benefits until September. Okay, right now we're talking about extending the enhanced benefits until March, which I think makes sense. But by September, we should be well into recovery. And the last thing we want to do is create an incentive for people to not go back to work when the whole point is to get businesses to hire. So it's about the dollar amount, but it's more than that. It's about what's being proposed here. And these are not relief projects. These are progressive ideological projects that have nothing to do with coronavirus.
Yeah, it's another Trojan horse. And we've spoken on this show so many times about the damage that can be done with a mandatory minimum wage alone. And Bernie Sanders needs to go back to Sweden. He needs to go to Denmark and see that they don't have minimum wage laws there for a reason. And they also consider themselves to be not democratic socialist utopias, but free market economies. So there's a lot of business-killing stuff in here. I don't understand the urgency now when the CBO says we're going to be back on track to have pre-pandemic GDP by mid-2021 and full employment by 2022, and that's without any stimulus. So how can you sell this with a nonpartisan organization saying the opposite?
Well, that's just it. And this is what people, I think, don't understand largely and has to become part of this debate. If Joe Biden did nothing in 2021 on the economic front, he would look like a genius because he would get to 4% economic growth by the end of the year. He'd get to close to 5% unemployment. All of the numbers would look fantastic. All he has to do is not get in the way of the recovery. Yes, get the vaccinations out, but otherwise let people do business. The problem is he wants the opposite. I mean, we just talked about two of the biggest job killers. It's the extended unemployment and it's the higher minimum wage. That slows down the recovery he would inherit if he just stepped back. But the problem is he's not driving the bus. It's Bernie Sanders in the Budget Committee driving the bus who wants to use the reconciliation process, which means you don't need any Republicans. Unless Joe Biden can grab control of the wheel, he's going to lose the recovery he would have inherited by doing simply nothing except getting out of the way.
That is such a good point. And do you know how hard it is to drive a bus with Bernie Sanders mittens? It is almost impossible. And he's driving it straight to hell. That's the problem. Of course, Bernie Sanders doesn't care about Republicans. Bernie Sanders doesn't care about Democrats. He wants this shellacked neo-Marxism. That is his guiding principle, and that will crush the economy, believe me. I know somewhere in President Biden's heart, he wants the economy to do well. He has said that. He wants Hunter to do well. Hunter can't do well if we're leading a global recession and all the funds in China and Saudi Arabia and God knows where else dry up.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. You know, we make fun of Bernie Sanders' mittens and he's a joke and it's a meme. But the fact is, he's talking about things that are anything but a joke. I think we've got to kind of get serious. He may look cute sitting in a stage, but he's talking about things that will harm American families for generations to come. We're not talking about this year or next year, but generations to come. These are real issues. The top line number matters, Kennedy, but the policy matters. And we can't go down the road of making it hard for businesses to grow and hire. That's the one thing that will work this year. The only thing that will work is if businesses have the confidence to hire, but you've got to let them do it.
No, they're going to automate. They're going to fire people. It's going to get worse with this mandatory minimum wage forced through. Thank you so much, Brian Brenberg. Brianomics only here